You having a mango chainsaw?
Yep. The mango.
I'm gonna have another
chainsaw.
armless Palmer. Armless Palmer. I had 2 already today. Not from here, but
Steve-O is on the big time liquid death kick.
it's because he's sober.
'Cause he's
as hell.
sober. Yeah.
Someone else is really into it. Thanos, Josh Brolin.
Oh yeah.
He originally was going to do a partnership with them, and their marketing guy kind of dropped the ball, I guess, and get it back to him or something. He did like a whole interview on Tony Hawk's podcast about it, and it was pretty cool because it was like before Liquid Death was a thing. They were like, yeah, so we know Josh Brolin used to skate hard.
Oh yeah.
And he's also just kind of a badass in like all these movies.
In general, yeah.
And I guess like, you know, I get like a lot of people don't know Josh Brolin's kind of like a California punk skater guy.
Right.
Which is weird because you don't never see him in a role like that, right? You see him in Sicario.
Right.
And he's, you know,
him in No Country for Old Men.
Exactly. But he was originally going to do a sponsor thing with them. And maybe they reached back out and did it again. I don't know. But anyways.
That's a big miss, I think.
Yeah, dude. Like, that would have had me drinking a lot earlier.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely think Josh Brolin has become like maybe our generation's, like, don't get me wrong, I know it might seem like an unfair comparison, but I think he might be coming like our generation's kind of like, not Arnold maybe, but like Stallone or like Kurt Russell. Like he's just pretty badass.
Or like Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah,
You know, like
you know,
that
he
kinda
is kind of becoming our Tommy Lee
Right.
Jones, I think, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think he's going to have a ton of roles that Tommy Lee Jones does now when he's like 70, 80, you know what I mean?
Which, did he play Tommy Lee Jones' character in Men in Black 3 when
He
they
did.
go back in time?
He did, and he did it really well. And he like learned how to mimic Tommy Lee Jones' mannerisms.
Yeah.
But anyways, excuse me, I'm already yawning. I need to get this Arnold. No, sorry. For copyright reasons, I got to make sure not to say that because they're not allowed to call it that in some states. I'm going to have this Liquid Death Armless Palmer, which is pretty metal. I just like that as a name. Like, that's a pretty metal play on the name.
It definitely is. Definitely is. And it still just feels like we're drinking Tall Boys. It's hilarious.
It does, bro. Welcome to Mick and Pat Show. I'm Mick. I'm sitting down here with Pat, who's just burping into the mic. Yeah, we're happy to be here with you all. No guest this week. Just figured to make it a classic. Right? Just the two of us hanging, talking about a ton of stuff under the sun. Dude, I just want to say too, because I know your dad listens to the podcast every once in a while and all that, but just always enjoy talking with that guy. We got to catch up a couple weekends ago at a church, and he's just a cool dude. And had that interesting chat about what will be our generation's Beanie Babies.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I guess it's kind of crypto NFTs.
Yeah.
Like the craze around it. And like, I think crypto's already inherently worth something because, there's already BlackRock ETF funds for crypto. So, but NFTs, I'm pretty sure that will be our generation's Bean Babies.
Yep. I think that could definitely be the case. And that actually have value. Like, what is, whatever ape for 2.3 mil.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, that is outrageous. But yeah, just a couple of things that, not like our main talking points for tonight, but just stuff that Pat and I thought were pretty cool that we just saw from the last week and all that. But Pat, you sent me the IMDb page for the 3 Body Problem coming out on Netflix. Netflix is dropping that series, and been kind of paying attention to the stuff they've been dropping for it. Not as much until this last week. And I gotta be honest, bro, I'm super skeptical.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. I mean, you read the first book, and this season is supposed to be following that. And they immediately just erased a lot of the Chinese characters to just have a diverse American, European cast. The first book follows what's his name. I'm having a hard time remembering because he's really only in the first book.
But it's pretty much everybody in that's Chinese, yeah.
And they took that guy and broke him down into 3 different characters. And one's a Hispanic woman or Latino woman. One's a black guy and another dude. I can't remember which. I think it's a John. He's John Bradley's character from Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, what? Why, dude?
The
Why not just have
Asian
it, like,
males always being underrepresented.
We need more representation.
Mhm.
Not that representation. Not that kind of representation. Different representation. And I don't know. I wish they would have just kept it to that, because I found it fascinating as an American with an American culture and reading and like my background to see Chinese storytelling and like the pace and just how, you know, they didn't really like, the book doesn't really care that much about character development. It cares that like you feel as scared as this guy does.
Right. And it was written by Chinese man.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Shishin Liu.
Yeah. So like it should be in that style and in that vein. And is it done by
the show's
who's doing
being
it?
directed by the guys who did Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
And dropped the ball. Yeah, so we'll see. Like I said, I'm skeptical. There's some things I saw that like from the trailer and like from the cast that I'm like, oh, cool. Like they're doing that this season. Like they're going to be introducing some characters and arcs, I think, that technically don't start until the second or third book.
Right.
But they're doing it for continuity's sake, I think. Because they're planning on making 3 seasons. So all that said, check it out. It's going to come out March 21st on Netflix. If you're interested in like a very grounded, scientific, sci-fi thriller, sci-fi horror, it's not going to be like any other sci-fi you've seen, I think, really, because there's almost no the violence in the book is very minimal.
Yeah.
And it's quick and it's
all
fast.
psyopy. You know, it's the of the mind.
Yeah, it's very kind of like spy thriller almost. You know what I mean? A lot of espionage stuff, a lot of like global conspiracy things going on. So I think it could still be a decent series. It's just not going to live up to the book in my eyes, because I thought that first book was, you know, it didn't have any deep characters at all, but good God, it did not make me like existentially panic listening to some of like the scenarios and circumstances that like the characters go through.
Right, because it was really dealing with big ideas.
Super
you know,
big
and
ideas.
so and that's what the book's pretty slow.
Oh yeah.
You know, dealing with these big overarching things. And so it's a good thing they're doing it in a show, because you couldn't do this in a movie.
Yeah, I
so
agree.
We'll see how it goes in a show, and if they stick to the script or if they just, you know, go for the views, go for the standard pander.
It's one thing I did kind of like was like I saw some critic reviews already coming out from like watching the first episodes, or maybe they watched the whole season already, but they're like, the show really doesn't have very deep characters. And I was like, okay, so a critic who hasn't read the book thinks that's a flaw, but me as someone who read the book, I'm like, okay, that's a good sign.
Right. Yeah.
That they're probably not over focused on like, you should really care about this person, and they're more like, this person's just a vehicle
to tell the story,
to put you in someone's shoes and get you scared.
Yeah, and to set up a story that's, if they continue through the next couple books, that covers thousands of years, like right, like or whatever. It's a long timeline.
The
right?
end of the 4th book is like over 18 billion years.
Okay, yeah. So whatever. Yeah, so whatever it is, that character don't matter no more.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. But we'll see what they do. I'm trying to give them benefit of the doubt here, and not just like, I'm trying to do the same thing I did with True Detective season 4, is just go in open-minded and let myself be disappointed because it chose to disappoint me.
Right. Yep.
Other news, dude. Paul Harrell, man. Paul Harrell. If you don't know him, he is kind of an OG gun YouTube content creator. And, you know, I really think of all the content creators, he's been probably the most apolitical and just educational about firearms safety, and myth busting with firearms. And he's just a good dude who was out of Eastern Oregon, I believe, originally. He might have moved to Idaho. Maybe not. Maybe he moved to Washington. But a lot of people joke that, like, you know, he's the dad we didn't have growing up to teach us guns and gun safety. And it's really weird because, like, when I bought my first gun at 20, dude, his YouTube videos were some of the first videos I ever watched. And they're like, you know, a low, like, not like super high quality 1080p 4K stuff, like slow motion. It's just like, hi, I'm Paul Harrell, and I'm out here in the woods today to test the myth if you can fire, you know, 7.62 59 in a 308 hunting rifle.
Right.
And it's just like, a lot of people say its pressure's unbelievably, whatever. And like he just like he did it in such an approachable kind and like almost like embarrassing. I don't know how to like. It's like if you found your dad was making YouTube videos, you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, Dad! I mean, these videos are cool, but I don't want anyone to see them."
Yeah, it's definitely like the modern run and gun YouTuber, right?
Shoot
like
trash,
channel, right? And like
shoot trash in a hole,
right? But the modern, if you're turned off by like the modern, like every civilian full tactical nods, running slow mo, shoot whatever, all that stuff, like and you're like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is like much more based, grounded, like guy who's like mostly he was around like prepping and hunting. Like he has a background in Marines.
Yeah, Marine Corps.
So he's a Marine Corps background, but most of his like education is around, more just, more all encompassing and more recreational survival type stuff.
And it's not even like prepping in the regards of like nuclear holocaust.
Right.
Prepping. It's like, if you have a home intruder at night, what's the most likely statistical situation that like that's going to happen, and how many intruders is it going to be, and what do crime reports show us like homeowners did when they hear a home intruder, and what are you most likely to do, and should you do that? And then he just did like wholesome videos, like he did a annual Thanksgiving and a lot of Christmas, New Year's videos. But again, the content was always very grounded, and it just feels like he's kind of the last of a specific demographic. Like, don't get me wrong, like there's some other YouTubers that were gun tuber guys that I weren't really big into. Like there's a guy Nut and Fancy, he's really big, but he is super like boomer prepper. Like you might have to kill people cutting through your fence trying to get your like freezer dry food. And he's funny. I mean, and he's a vet too, and I respect his opinions. He's super educated, but he's kind of just a little like embarrassing. And then like the other one though, that was I think kind of this old school but like not high. And so it's kind of like, and I know Nut Fancy's talked about retiring because he's just getting old and crotchety and he just doesn't enjoy YouTube anymore. It just feels like all these old other generation gun tuber guys that like were the dudes before Grand Thumb and Administrative Results and Donut Operator and Brandon Herrera, like this generation's all of a sudden now like phasing out. They're getting old, they're getting sick, and they're retiring and they're handing things off. So I said Paul Harrell is a phenomenal guy, and I really loved his final words. Grantham was interviewing him. That's what this old point was saying. Like, go watch Grantham's interview, because Grantham, who we're used to being like kind of, a very cool and put together, high speed gun tuber.
And goofy though,
and high speed goober,
like joking, and
not too serious. You could just tell he's like, I'm interviewing my hero right now, and I'm having a hard time, like remaining as cool and calm as I usually do.
Right.
And he asked him, what's like the most important thing you want like people know? And Paul's like, just know that if you're a gun owner, wherever you go, you're representing the Second Amendment, not your politics. And just keep in mind that like that bumper sticker on your car and, the etiquette you have at the range and the way you show your gun or like show other people your firearm, all of that is like a representation of the 2A community to them. And you better be thinking about how you do it if you want to keep the Second Amendment around. You still want that as a right, because there's a right way to do it and a less helpful way to do it. And I just respect that etiquette and that like final message coming from him. And the dude's a believer too. So I've always really enjoyed listening to stuff talk about, faith in a higher power and all that. But so check him out. He's been diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer, and honestly, I just know we don't have him around for much longer. He just did his final class like this last week, final seminar training class. He handed the channel's content creation over to his brother, who is a retired cop and pretty also like based and down to earth guy. So
he used to be jacked.
His brother?
No, him.
Oh, Paul Harrell.
I just pulled up like his oldest videos, and
before he had cancer, bro, he was like, he maintained his like Marine physique.
Yeah, he's Marine. He's like, when you think of Clint Eastwood Marine, like he's
very triangle torso.
Yeah.
like broad shoulders. So yeah, all that said, check that out, dude. Also saw this video about RFK Jr. that I just thought was interesting. You know, we talk a lot about, you know, politics and Biden, Trump stuff, and RFK Jr. was on Fox. Saw this clip on YouTube, and he claims that he has the highest ratings amongst independent voters, and he's polling higher than Trump or Biden. And this is the first time in the country's history, that an independent party is now larger than either the Republican or Democratic parties. Like, there are more registered independents than there are Democrats or Republicans in the nation now. Wow. And RFK polls higher amongst independents than, you know, Biden or Trump. And he's also polling higher for voters under 45 now than Biden or Trump.
Really?
Yeah. So there's a good chance that he's going to get a decent amount of votes. He's like he's polling like nationally at 9% right now.
Wow. That's at least, he's getting into the range, at least enough of monkeying with the bigger results. Like, they're both sides are scared of what that's going to do to each of their bases. That's wild. Well, and
a lot of people are saying like it's already like moderately tight in like these like big swing states for Trump or Biden, coming down to probably a couple 100,000 votes. And if RFK is on the ballot, like, that can easily gobble up those swing votes.
Yeah.
He also, though, apparently needs, I don't understand how this works, but apparently he needs 75,000 signatures to get on the ballot in California, where it's his, like, you know, state of residency where he's running. And then that allows him to be on the ballot nationally. So I don't get how that's the rule, but that's the rule, I guess.
Feels a little rather attainable.
I know people
in the modern age with like digital signatures.
Well, I just don't even think that should be the rule. I think it should just be like, hey, independent party, who are we nominating? RFK Jr. All right, he's on the ballot everywhere.
Right.
That's the party's, you know, thing, right?
Right.
I mean, people voted for Harambe. Smoke break.
Smoke break.
Hey, Ken, it's Mick, and I've got something important to talk about. We all hope we never find ourselves in a self-defense situation, but life's unpredictable. Enter the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer, an actual credible law firm you can put on retainer for your self-defense needs. For just $35 a month, you get national coverage in all 50 states for criminal and civil legal representation in self-defense situations, complete with a 24/7, 365 toll-free emergency line. That's real legal support when you need it most. What's in the package? Bail bonds, scene cleanup, firearm replacement, even mental health counseling. Plus, 0 fees for a laundry list of defense-related costs like expert witnesses. So support the show and get yourself some peace of mind. Click the link in our show notes or visit our sponsors page to sign up for the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer.
Hey folks, Pat here. If you're like Mick and I, you're a fan of classic tales like Lonesome Dove, Blood Meridian, The Three-Body Problem, and Steinbeck's East of Eden. With Audible, you can dive into these epic stories anytime, anywhere. Sign up for a free month, and your first audiobook is on the house. To start your free trial and support our show, click the link in the show notes or swing by the sponsors page on our website.
Want an awesome website for your podcast? Check out Podpage. We use it for the Mick and Pat show, and it's a game changer. Set it up in minutes, no coding needed. Support the show by using our link to get started. Your podcast deserves a home as great as ours. Podpage, the one-stop solution.
And Kanye.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, like, I feel like it's okay to vote for, you know, RFK should be on that. And then this was the one that I thought was pretty, like, crazy. I thought it was kind of cool. He said he's heavily considering Aaron Rodgers, quarterback of the New York Jets, right?
Yeah, I think he's Jets right now.
Used to be for the
Bay.
Pack. Yeah, go Pack, go. And so he's just like, yeah, I like Aaron Rodgers for his stand-up character and, you know, his ability to endure through adversity and people trying to cancel him, as well as just his ability to constantly be skeptical of authority. You know, Aaron Rodgers caught a lot of flack for being like, I'm not giving the shot.
Right.
I'm not giving the jab. I don't trust it. I don't trust it that the government's saying I need to do this when every other point in time it's a choice. And regardless of your opinions on the vax, I mean, Aaron Rodgers came out the other side fine.
Right.
And now he might be considered a vice president running mate for RFK Jr., which I just like. dude, no one would have believed this 100 years ago.
And honestly, I think that's gonna hurt him. That's gonna hurt RFK.
I think so too. It's gonna make people too skeptical.
He has some wild interviews on podcasts that really were freaking people out around like a bunch of different things or conspiracy this or that. Like I think he's like maybe like an ayahuasca journey. Like certain things are just like, you know, he's like, wait a second, I don't know about vice president. Maybe cabinet. Maybe I don't know.
Well, he said
VP is pretty fat. You know.
Oh, you're talking about Aaron Rodgers' opinion on on podcasts. I thought you meant RFK Jr. was going around saying he was doing ayahuasca.
No. RFK's been saying some stuff too, but no, Rodgers has had some stuff that he said or like conspiracy things or whatever, and so it's like we'll see.
Yeah, they did ask RFK Jr. if he'd be willing to, if he was offered the opportunity to be VP for Trump, would he do it? And he said no, which I'm bummed, right? Because I thought that would have been sick. Like if RFK wasn't going to win, it'd be cool to have him as VP to Trump, and like Trump's done, so then RFK gets kind of a shot to be like, yeah, I balanced out Trump and kept him more moderate, and use that as kind of a platform for when he's running, right?
Yeah,
you know, because if he doesn't win, he can run again, and he's definitely like, have you seen RFK like shirt off?
He's
a pretty built old guy.
He's got it going on.
Yeah, so like I don't think he's certainly not in Biden's mental health condition, right? You know what I mean? Like I think he, if he doesn't, you know, of course if he doesn't win this year, he could certainly run I think a couple more times. But
wild stuff, man.
Yeah. Anyways,
man.
First main topic,
robots.
Dude, the future, man. Curl up like Squidward.
The future is here. Dude. Future.
Yeah, exactly.
Future.
If you haven't seen it, this video came out this week from OpenAI in their like sub company division called Figure, and it's where they show Figure's latest robot demo, and it's a guy with the robot across from a kitchen table in like a giant robotics warehouse, and or kitchen island, I guess. There's like a dish rack with some plates and a cup, and then a plate with an apple on it and a cup. And he's asking the robot, "What do you see?" And the robot's in like a very believable human, like soft voice, describes what it's seeing, and he's like, "All right, go ahead, give me that apple." And the robot picks it up and hands it to him, and it's like, "All right, go ahead, pick up this trash." And he pours trash on top of the plate and table, and the robot does clean it up, and then puts the plate in the
pretty dexterous
cup away. Yeah, it's like slow, but it doesn't like, you know, it's better than a lot of other people I've seen trying to learn how to do the dishes, right? Yeah. And the whole time it's got this like very, in the way I describe this voice, is like a very submissive voice. It's
supposed to make you feel like you're in charge of it. Yeah.
It's like a non-threatening robot voice, and it's not like the one that you see in movies where it's like Hal from 2001: Space Odyssey, like, "I cannot do that, Dave. I had to kill them, Dave." You know, it's not like that. It's just like it literally sounds like a guy from The Office. Where you're like, yeah. So how's your weekend? Did you have fun? Do anything fun with the wife and kids? And if that guy was like, I don't know. If I should be talking about that, I don't know if my wife would approve. It's like, bro, what did you just say here as a fully independent adult? Like, you're not going to talk about your weekend at work? And so all that said, it was just kind of like, it had like a weird cadence of stuttering and filling with and ahs that you could tell was like a programmatic, like, oh, speak more like a unsure thinking person. Like, you should sound like you're thinking, less like you've already thought and then this is the output. More like you're actively thinking currently.
It was intentional.
Yeah. And it looked cool. Like, everything was chroned in like grayscale.
It looked like iRobot.
Yeah, it really did. It did look a lot like iRobot, you know, the first iteration of bots. But I did see like it was so funny, bro. I did see like a demo of like this walking. Oh, dude, it's like watching an old lady kind of waddle walk, you know, like just like
shuffle,
this, like never fully off of one foot or the other, just kind of like waddle, wait to one side, shuffle the foot forward, waddle, wait to the other side, shuffle foot forward. And I was like, all right, well, hopefully,
At least we can outrun them.
yeah, at least we can go upstairs. Like, but all that said, it was pretty surprising. But a lot of people, in like Tim Pool on his show, the Timcast, like a lot of, and like his guests, they all thought it was fake. And I've seen a couple other people be like, yeah, it's fake. And part of me was like, if it's not fake, they should have thought about the PR a little bit better, because they did just release the most impressive video generated AI footage we've ever seen.
Right.
And I would 100% believe that this was AI generated. Like, they really refined it, a ton of iterations, to get to before they got to this point with like camera cuts and stuff like that. Because if outside of it, like having to move its arm and stuff, it just was still. Like that's easy to fake, right?
Yeah, and so I think that I think it may be fake-ish in that, like the way that the program sequences were maybe preset, or the
like it was like the scripts were scripted.
The script, I think it was scripted. I don't think the robot was fake, but I think it might have been like, back like kind of like when you did robotics class, and the job was, you program the thing to roll forward and then take a turn. Like, I think it was maybe a little more inside of that metric than being fully, thinking through, like, I don't know if it processed every option in the whole world, or I wonder if they had its it's like when you're bowling, they had the bumpers up on it,
I'm sure that is what it is, because as someone who works in AI, the models that they're using for these is a model that is called LLM, and which stands for large language model, which large language model literally means, like, rather than trying to have to go in and program it to do more and more things, you program the model to take what it has learned in its language interactions. And essentially, like, that really does start with being like, when user starts new session, say hello. And then that's like the script at that point. And then it says hello, and then all of the responses we feed back to it, it says like, all right, let's start classifying these responses. And here are ones that are questions, here are ones that are responses that are like hello back to you, here are ones that are a mix. And then the model just continually builds off of that to categorically, like, understand, like, what is a question, what is an exclamation, what is a response, what is a weird, like, I say hello, someone copy paste a link to a virus for me to download, you know what I mean, right? And it starts categorizing all those, and then it begins to build more and more consistent responses and approaches to those responses. And it's based off of what was originally called a random forest diagram, where it's just, like, think of like a trickle forest. Yeah, a flow chart. And it's like, you can go all the way deep down here, right? And so all that said, like, I'm sure what this was a very segregated, very optimized, small environment of a large language model. And I don't think it was like we're going to type out its response and it's going to, like, synthesize that and say it. I genuinely think it's like,
it came to the response.
Yeah, it's like, here is a bunch of pictures of plates, cups, people, and apples, and trash. And, like, we're going to make sure you know what all those are, and you don't need to get confused about anything else, because we don't want you to say, like,
there's 3 cameras, or like I'm seeing a studio.
Apple, but there is a kitten. It, like, grab it, Yeah.
Like, and also, I think one of the hardest things too, between the next hardest hurdle, I think, is connecting its thought to its movement, right? Like, okay, it can identify an apple. AI, we know AI can identify an apple pretty easily. You stick a picture on ChatGPT. What is this? That is an apple.
Yeah.
Right. But then connecting the whatever, basically neurological connection to how you then physically interact with it, where it then picks up the apple, hands it to the subject, picks up the plates, puts them in the right spot. Like, was that? I think that's the hardest leap as well. Maybe not, but
I will say that the mechanical image recognition to function command is way less intensive than large language models. But that's also because we've had image recognition to function command since we've had traffic cameras.
Right.
Like traffic cameras recognizing car accidents and just, all right, create function red light.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like so, and like to a robot, the function is, you know, manipulate servos to specific angles and degrees, tilt, hand, and like to deliver apple to this location. Which all that said, yes, it's complicated, and yes, it's a lot of work, and yes, I have respect for the engineers who do that. And it's impressive that a model might be able to do that. I'm not convinced a model can do that. You know, or that a model right now can do it as well as we saw there. And so that's like where I'm skeptical. And I'm that's what I guess what I'm saying is like I'm with you because I believe and I know that the image recognition to function is attainable and has, you know, been done for a while. But the speech synthesis to then now make the action based off of the image and functions, like that part I am still very skeptical about because they're very different models and they're both intricately complex in their own ways, and there's a lot of room for error. Because what I would have liked to see is it grabbing the apple and the guy be like, actually stop, put that down, and like I'd want to see how quickly it processes the stop command and puts it down, and where does it put it down? Does
it put it in the exact same spot, or does it just set it down?
Like what is categorically down, right? You know, from like my perspective as a program,
puts it on the floor or something.
So I don't know. Like I would have loved to see something like that. That's a little bit more dynamic. But all that said, I don't think it was CGI. I know people are saying it might be, and it's getting so good. Image generation, video generation is getting so good. It could be for certain cuts. I'm sure though that they did it 1,000 times, and they just edited the best. Like things from each take together, because the dialogue felt very refined, like that is not what your voice sounds like in that warehouse.
And they should have asked him, it's like, all right, pick up the apple, what do you want to do with the apple? You know, like, and then it's like,
I guess I would eat it if I had a mouth.
Or like, can I throw it, can I squish it? I want to, or if it's like, I want to take the seeds and plant it so something can grow of it. You're like, okay, like all the different like responses of that. Now he's like, okay, now you're getting into the mind of the thing of, you know, as far as if you really are dealing with true AI, right? Not just we call it all AI now, but what's it actually?
AGI, artificial generated intelligence, which is like the idea that the intelligence is generating its own thoughts and feelings, rather than faking thoughts, faking feelings. You know?
Just coming up with the next best response.
One thing that I just thought of too while I was watching it, I was like, this is I will never be okay with this being in my house. Are you kidding me? They're like, oh well, it has a battery pack and it charges up every night. I'm like, yeah, so I have to sleep. It does not. Like what's say like someone's like, all right, you know, this guy's said something not chill on Twitter. Let's just go smother him in his sleep, right? And it's not even like the robot needs to put its hands around my neck and strangle me. It can literally just put a pillow over my face and lay down on it, and I'd have a hard time getting that thing and its battery pack off. You know what I mean? So I actually had this horror movie idea, and this is gonna sound sketch and messed up.
All right,
but I could see it being a pretty good, decent horror film. You know, years 2045, and we have a lot of vets from some kind of war and stuff, and like just other people retired, living in retirement homes. And during the day, the retirement home has human like employees that are supported by robots as like extra caretakers. But at night, it's expensive to have people doing the night shift. No one wants to do it, so you just have robot caretakers doing the delivery. But when the paychecks start running dry or the medical care becomes more expensive than the social security income, the robots turn on and they go room and like they kill that elderly person. And then so that way the company can make room for new people with new social security checks. And then some of the old people realize it. They start trying to warn the caretakers, and no one's believing it. And then the old people kind of like band together. We get kind of like a old people Home like Alone against robots.
8.
Yeah. Could be, I guess. But I just think like that would be kind of like almost a quirky, but actually I bet that would be scary then. Like we hear that now, we're like, that sounds silly. But I bet like in 2050 when one of these is in everyone's damn house and is like your robot like waiter, you might be like, oh, wait a second, I don't think I want to put my mom in that home,
right?
With robot caretakers.
And also, I think their theory should be like the theory is, the company's trying to open up beds for money, but no, the robots have decided when you are no longer like worthy
no
of
longer
life,
serve purpose.
Right? Exactly.
You have become too exhausting on our system to maintain.
Exactly, and that's what's actually going on. And it's like in the company guy, the guy who owns the company's like,
I didn't know. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Because then it goes beyond. And that's when the classic, AI robot starts happening.
Dude, there is like a really great iRobot kind of thread of robots in the system trying to kill somebody in the 3 Body book series.
Oh yeah,
I think it's particularly in the second or third book. I can't remember exactly, but it's in one of those where it's like, wait a second, I don't want an automated society at all, because it's like someone essentially installs a virus that has been in this system for over 200 years, and when this dude comes out of cryo, the virus is still there, and it just starts trying to send like automated cars crashing into him.
Right.
AI waiters trying to stab him while they're filleting his steak for him. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's a nightmare, dude.
And in this caretaker movie, the ultimate villain needs to be the Ben Stiller caretaker from Happy Gilmore, who is like, he's like,
that's just actually who it needs to like put on its face. Yeah, but it's like killing people.
Yeah, that's who they've decided is their like is their overlord. Yeah, that is their like they've seen that as
personally. We take after the character from Happy Gilmore played by the 21st century Ben Stiller.
Yeah,
it's just like, oh my god, like it's Ben Stiller in the retirement home. He's like, that's the best part.
He's running
like,
from
you inspired us, Ben.
Night at the Museum meets iRobot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, all right. Someone write it, please. That'd be awesome. I don't even care.
Yeah. Chat AI bots, get on that for us.
Yeah, but dude, I want to ask this, Pat. I guess before we jump on just one question: how close do you let that get into your life? Because like it's no secret you and I use ChatGPT to leverage stuff like just questions about taxes and trying to like do image generation and stuff like that. And so like how much closer do you let it get, or how much more power do you let it get before you're like, that's not getting into this part of my life?
Right. Like I don't even like Roombas or Amazon Alexas in my house. But that being said, they're so convenient. I just think I just start to accept them.
The only real like AI system product like that, like Alexa and all that I use, is the one on my phone. Like I have probably 4 of them, and I think 2 of them are now unplugged because I'm just like, I don't use it, and it doesn't need to be listening to stuff. And I've noticed, bro. This is where I got real uncomfortable. There was times where I noticed I was talking in my like room, and it would just click on when I wasn't saying like keywords.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, yeah, so no. All right. So I'm going to go classic Ron Swanson, pick that up and throw it in the trash outside.
Yeah, I think, oh man, because on a real note, like, man,
like, do you really think like you can trust that thing around your children? It's like a pit bull, honestly.
Right.
It's like, it's the best dog around until like it decides it wants to eat my kid's feet.
Yeah, I think that I can see where like it'd be nice to just have a gardener, full time.
Whoa, right to the gardener?
Just saying.
Right to the gardener, like, bro? That's a little sus.
You're just like, hey man, these out there, let him, grow my lettuce, and he has access to the scythe and everything,
scythe.
But I know, I think we, as a society, we got to pump the brakes on some things, or put in some serious fail-safe stops and stuff. And then as individuals, we have to make up this decision for ourselves. And I think that one, there's like actual like safety and the classic like the iRobot movie, where they start turning bad, or they start doing stuff that's not good, and they're dangerous. And then there's also just letting ourselves turn into Wall-E, where there's also just the complete degrading of our ourselves as humans to just let other things do it for us. And so I think that you can't have robot servants.
Like, just imagine this scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about these things because I'm just trying to, I've been thinking about this all week.
Mm-hmm.
Probably thought about 10 different scenarios already.
Mm-hmm.
But just the scenarios where for a moment, for a minute, maybe
Mhm.
less, you think, oh my God, is this where it's happening now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it happening right now? Am I seeing it happen
Mhm.
right now? Where whatever you want to think about AI, it's mean, it's malicious, it's awake, it's making its own choices, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ones I came to is just like, imagine you got your robot assistant called, like, I don't know, just call it Kimber,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, right? And it's just like, it's in the house, it's technically babysitting, the
Mhm.
baby while you run out and grow groceries, right? And it will notify emergency authorities if your baby is
Mm-hmm.
sick, or right, and it will notify you first before, like, it'll just say, yes, I can go in the room, and like uses this camera so you can see your baby and make
Mhm.
sure everything's all right while you're grabbing groceries. It can even like hold the bottle and bottle feed your baby.
Mm-hmm.
Now just imagine you are walking out the front door, it closes behind you and locks,
Mm-hmm.
and you realize, oh, my keys are inside,
Mm-hmm.
and you start hearing your child wailing.
Mm-hmm.
And as it's wailing, you're like, hey, Kimber. And you're knocking on the window, and your robot is just over there in the corner standing.
Mm-hmm.
And as your baby's crying, it stands up and it sees you. And you're like, Kimber, can you get the door? I forgot my keys inside.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, it's not responding. You pull up your phone, you talk to your phone, Kimber, come unlock the door so I can get my keys.
Mm-hmm.
And as it's like your baby's crying, it just pivots, walks out of view, and walks to where your baby's crying.
Mm-hmm.
And then your baby stops crying.
Mm-hmm.
And like, your immediate reaction is like, standing to the baby as a priority. It's trying to make sure the baby's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's coddling it, whatever. But now the panic of, I can't get inside.
Mm-hmm.
That thing can walk. It has the ability to crush and bend rebar with its hands. And my baby is no longer crying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't see through my phone on it. What is happening? It like
Mhm.
that is, and then it could be totally fine. And it comes back and it's like, I'm sorry, I had to tend to your child, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was a higher priority than letting you in. And you're going to be emotional and a wreck or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like for those like 45 seconds, couple minutes, you're going to be thinking to your head, I'm going to have to break this window open and climb into my house and kill
my
this robot,
Uh-huh.
hopefully before my baby is dead.
Right.
And all because I just forgot my car keys inside.
Mhm.
And I just think like that is probably like the deepest, darkest fear.
Mm-hmm.
But that is going to happen 1,000 times in the 1st
Mhm.
year this is out, right?
Right.
And it's probably, it's probably not going to be smothering any babies.
Mhm.
But those moments are such a hurdle to trust
Mhm.
of ownership of a product like this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And then I'd say too, like, let's take the physical robot out of it, and and just go to
Smart house?
Smart house.
Where smart house is like, I'm your wife.
Exactly. Exactly. Like letting an AI, into your smart home
Yeah.
that then can
Turn up the heat.
lock the doors,
Yeah.
turn off the lights, turn on the lights,
Turn the oven on.
you turn all that stuff, right? And emergency responder can't get it, whatever. I think that it even starts way before you let a physical robot in. It's already like, how much do you let a program like this have the control in your life? And then even bigger than that too is also like, who's really in charge of this, or what's, so then it's like, it's government regulated or whatever. And then you just all the things that I think that I don't see any true value added to life.
But the convenience.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's all comfort, convenience. I don't see any true added value to life.
We can save so much money.
Right. And maybe if you're, if you were a single parent, that could be maybe there could be, it's still convenience, still comfort and convenience, right? So I think that we have to watch what the value add actually is to these things.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I think, there's a million things we should be thinking of now before we start letting people in. And I think just a good one too of showing there's no fault in the system, in the robot.
Mm-hmm.
But technically, not even hypothetically, but technically, if you were to put a knife on a Roomba,
right,
and that Roomba was to start rolling around and it rolled into you and stabbed you on the foot, what are you going to do? Well, you're gonna move away from it, right? And you're probably gonna move away in the like a different direction, because away from the knife point. But Roombas are programmed that when they bump into an object to remap and turn and go away from the object and like read out with their infrared lasers of their location, because they usually map it and then they just pre-programmatically go around and vacuum based on like their map of where your furniture is and all that. So if they bump you and you get stabbed with a knife on a Roomba, and you turn and run to the other direction, the Roomba is more than likely going to turn in that direction and stab you again. And that's like, there is no malice in the Roomba.
Right.
That is just its technical programming of how it's supposed to deal with obstacles.
Right.
So like, that's like something of like, yes, who's going to put their knife on a Roomba? Well, go to YouTube. People do it all the time for a meme, right?
Or
but
like the other like
the Roomba Fight Club. I love those videos.
For instance, too, like, have you seen the dog poop carpet versus Roomba? Oh my dude, it's just like it's such a nightmare, you know. It's Roomba just it doesn't stop. It just
cleaned your
smears
entire carpet, and like you as the owner is just like there's it's a Bob what was his name? Bob from Full House.
Sackett.
Yeah, Bob Sackett in Dumber and Dumberer, where he goes into his bathroom and they've rubbed melted chocolate all over the walls because the chocolate melted in his back pocket, and Bob Saggett's just like, there's shit all over, shit, because he just looks like someone shit all over the walls.
Oh yeah,
and that's exactly how you feel as a Roomba owner when it tries to clean up dog poop. Anyways,
oh my god,
all that said, there's a million things we could run through, but I guess I want to jump to the other one because it's funny. Ironic, another technologically ironic thing, but in the news this week I saw that there is an electric vehicle battery factory that it's owned by Panasonic. They're building it in Kansas. They're getting a lot of state and federal and local funding and aid and grants to help build this 4 million square foot, $4 billion electric vehicle battery manufacturing plant.
God.
It's going to require 200 to 250 megawatts of electricity to operate, which by comparison is about as much as we need to operate this town that we live in. Town of about 100,000 people. And what they're doing to power this electric vehicle battery factory in Kansas is that Panasonic is forcing the one of the state energy utility providers to keep their coal plant open. That was originally scheduled to close in 2024, but is now required to be open up until 2028 at the current agreement now. The coal plant is owned by Evergy, and residents of Kansas and the local community and stuff and people who are customers of Evergy are going to have to already, like it's already been announced, there's going to be an increased rate hike as long as like the state approves it, because it's a utility, so states have to approve utility rate hikes. But they're going to have to shoulder the increased rate hike so Evergy can build the infrastructure to meet the energy demand of this renewable energy like factory, right? Like, and it's just ironic. It's like it's a renewable energy concept. Electric vehicles running off of batteries is going to be entirely powered by coal. A coal factory is providing all the power to this building so it can make your battery that you probably still charge off of coal or natural gas anyways. And it's just like the carbon tax, not the carbon tax, sorry, but the carbon costs, which, you know, I'm not even that concerned about CO2, whatever, cancel me. But the carbon cost of this is insanely higher than just manufacturing a normal gas car.
Right.
And so all that said, this article too, a lot of people are like, well, what are you reading off Fox News? No, dude, this is written by the Institute for Energy Research. And the Institute itself is like, you know, they're rather like, you know, not exaggerative with it, right? They're just like, it's at least, you know, yes, factory for electric vehicle batteries is going to be powered by coal for the near future. Yes, this is ridiculous. Yes, this is ironic. And yes, it's unfair how much it's going to cost people to have this infrastructure built for this corporation that's already getting a lot of grants and support from the local and state government to build here. And so it's kind of, I mean, don't get me wrong, yeah, it's bringing jobs. It's estimated there's going to be 4,000 jobs for, people in Kansas.
For the robots.
Yeah, exactly, for the automated robots. But it is one of those things too, like, I just find very ironic. And this article kind of touches on something that I think a lot of Americans don't get yet. And I was really shocked because it's, again, not a political organization. It's a research organization, a research institute, right? Mm-hmm. And they say at the end of the article, they're like, while Biden is pushing the transition to electric vehicles on Americans, he has not accepted the realities associated with their manufacture and the emissions that would be produced. All he would need to do is look at China's dominance in the area and its huge amounts of cheap coal power that is used to run its manufacturing base. But he is too oblivious to study what is needed for attaining his climate goals. Instead, Americans will have to pay through higher energy costs and frivolous tax expenditures, which I think is at the core of pretty much everybody's beef with EV.
Right.
Like, I don't know a single person who would be butthurt about a totally clean, renewable, chargeable electric vehicle. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know a single dude who drives, a diesel Cummins where you're like, hey, guess what? You never have to pay for diesel gas again. This thing has just as much ability as a vehicle, and it runs off of sun and water.
Right.
And, like, I don't know a single guy who'd be like, nah, I don't want that, like, pussy stuff. Like,
mm-hmm. Right.
Like, what? Okay, because my diesel Cummins, it's a diesel, so it's great, can run on whatever, but also it's what, $120 a tank?
Oh yeah,
a minimum.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like the main beef that a lot of us have is this requires increased financial burden on the taxpayer, on the consumer, the local resident who's already paying energy rates to a utility program. And it's really like not going to benefit them at all yet. You know what I mean? The benefit is so far down the road that like it's very hard for us to justify in our local economy.
Yeah, because we are. That is the big beef with it, is that it's just not what they say it is. It's not going to have the result that they say it's going to have for the environment. It's not going to have the result they say it's going to have for our wallet. It's not going to have the result that they say it's going to have for even the way that all these materials are produced, procured, all the rare, metals that go into these type of batteries, and then how they degrade and the environmental impact those will have. Like, it just feels like it's a false. It feels fake, and so that's why a lot of people have a problem with it. And I watched this video the other day. It's so funny. All these people were charging up their electrical vehicles at a charging location. And this guy with a camera walked around to the back, and there was a huge diesel generator.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah,
powering the chargers. Yeah, and it was like, this is asinine
pour the diesel in the car.
Yeah, to convert the energy again.
Yeah, you're losing it. You're losing.
You always lose energy.
Yeah,
you always do. No matter how good your technology gets.
Yeah.
You lose energy in converting it. And so it's
thermodynamics, baby.
Exactly. And so I just thought it's such a great little micro video. It's 30 seconds long or whatever, that everybody should see that. And then also I feel like everybody should understand it's a farce.
Yeah,
right?
You should see that and understand like that is the shortest like pathway.
Mm-hmm.
That you can transparently see how these electric vehicle charge stations get their power, like what they're pulling off of. The majority of what they pull off of is natural gas and coal.
The coal grid.
Yeah, like what, and like you don't see that, you don't realize it because the coal and the natural gas are hundreds, if not thousands of miles away from your city. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's solar, yes, there's wind, but the power they generate is not enough to be stored for when you're wanting to pull back energy for your car.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't have a way of storing that energy like we do in carbon and fossil fuels.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of that, like everything that is generated by wind or solar is used within a very short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's not like when you go to charge your car up, it's like, all right, yeah, well, we'll do that with the solar power energy. It's like,
right.
No, when you're charging your car up in your garage at night, when you're at home going to bed,
mm-hmm.
do you know that there's no solar power left? Like
right.
at that point in time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so all that said, it's pretty silly to me. This other one, a funny video you could look at. Anyone can look it up. These are both very easy Googles or searches on YouTube. But it's a GM spokesperson doing this big announcement of like, the Chevy Spark is right up, like out in the parking lot. Let's go out and you could see it charging up, and you get in and check it out. And everyone in the board goes out there, and there's like local news, and like the local news guy with the camera was like, asks like this, GM spokesperson, like, so what's like charging the car? And she's like, oh, the building. And they're like, he's like, no, I mean like what's providing the power to the building to charge the car? She's like, I think it's and she kind of meddles around a little. She's like, and then she says like IL something whatever, which is the utility company. And then there's a guy from that utility company there. Cameraman goes over to him and is like, so your company's providing power to the building. Where's that power come from? And he's like, it's 95% coal. It's just like, okay, cool, great. Everybody applaud, everybody clap. They just keep filling up your cars with gas, I guess. Like, I don't know, you know what I mean? It's so silly. Anyways, it is. Yeah, right now it's a sham. It's a charade. It's the Emperor's new clothes, dude. Yeah,
it really is the Emperor's new clothes.
But
my goodness.
Anyways, this was the one I'm most excited to talk about. And I know you did the research for it, so I really want to just pass it over to you. But like in the news, if you haven't heard, this guy John Barnett, he was an engineer for Boeing, and he's come out as a whistleblower about like kind of the shortcuts Boeing was taking in manufacturing, the risk, and knowing they seem to be very aware of the risk and not doing anything about it. If you're into stocks like me, Boeing is like, hey, if you want to make money, if you want to be a millionaire, puts on Boeing. It's a safe way to make a shitload of money right now. Well, not safe. It's always gambling, doing puts or calls. But
Lion Air Flight 610 and then Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302. In both of these cases, the planes crashed, killed over 100 people in each of them. That was in 2018 and in 2019.
Just as a question, were either of those... I'm pretty sure there was one where like people were like, oh, it got shot down, and then it like really came out. It was like, oh no, that was just a Boeing problem. Like the plane crashed because of Boeing, not because some African rebels shot it down.
But I think especially very early on, because these weren't necessarily huge or these weren't Western world airlines, it's
savage honesty. I love it.
Like the first thing that you're gonna, the first thing to assume, is like, all right, something crazy happened here with terrorism or shot down some attacks or negligence on the flight crew or they had a pilot who who learned on a simulator and hopped right in, like these sorts of assumptions. But what it was after they did their investigations, there's an angle of attack sensor, which is for the angle of attack on an airplane is basically the angle at which you're climbing up into the air or that you're dropping. But what that angle of attack sensor does is it tells the autopilot that when you're climbing too fast, because when a plane climbs too fast is when it stalls out and when it can't handle.
And it stalls out because it can't. Well, I don't know. I'm just asking. Do you know does it stall out because it's like to get the fuel to the engines is like too difficult at that steep with air pressure, or
it's part of that's also like you lose lift, like you lose.
Oh yeah,
like you're losing.
You're not generating lift.
It's less about the.
You become a stone.
Yeah. You're not. You no longer have lift on the airplane, so then you're stalling lift. Not so your engines can stall too, but a stall is also. Your engine could be running full bore and you could still stall and it's still going to keep cranking, but you don't have lift on the plane because you're going at too steep of an angle up. And so the sensor is supposed to let you know when that happens, and it calibrates and recorrects. And so the angle of attack sensor, basically goes to the next sensor, which is the augmentation sensor. It's the augmentation system that makes corrections. So it thought it was climbing at a super steep angle while it wasn't. It was cruising along fine. The angle of attack sends a warning. Then the augmentation system corrects, and so it shot the nose down. So it forced the planes to crash essentially. So it was it corrected by pushing the nose down, which is how you do get out of a stall in an airplane, is to decrease your angle of attack, get lift back in the wings. But in this case, it just pointed it down to the
That's
ground.
right, yep.
And the pilots couldn't. I'm pretty sure too that the pilots couldn't do anything about it.
No, I remember actually hearing black box recordings from some of these,
Mm.
or maybe not these exact flights, but where they say angle of attack, and they're talking about how they can't bring the nose back up.
Mm-hmm. And there was nothing they could really do
Yep.
from the cockpit, and so these planes crashed, killing the passengers on board. I don't know if there were survivors or not. I doubt it.
Yeah.
I doubt it. It was
It's very hard to survive plane crashes nowadays. They're pretty,
because it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
In that sense, in a lot of
Yeah.
cases. And so the those two instances were what brought kind of a lot of the public's eye and attention to the what's going on with Boeing, what happened here, is malfunction in the systems. And so John Barnett, he was a quality control guy for 30 years at Boeing, and
so he wasn't an engineer.
He may have also been an engineer, but
Okay.
his job was
Checking
was the quality control of these, and so he
Gotcha.
probably was an engineer with to know what the heck he was doing
Sure.
first. But then
I just saw people say engineer,
right,
suicide, whatever.
and so he was. Yeah, I don't think he was in the process. He wasn't the guy who was engineering the plane,
Mhm.
but he was on the backside
Mhm.
as an engineer to inspect and he brought up a bunch of attention in 2017 was when he started. Was it 2017 or 2019? It was a couple of years back. He brought up these big issues with these planes, and the specific line of planes he was also dealing with was the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, which is different than the 737 MAX, but they do run on similar systems. And so he was saying that they were rushing these inspections, and they were rushing the way that these planes were getting just pushed out the door. It was time, and so in an interview with him specifically, he was talking to news reporters, and he was saying that he had gone out to inspect something, and then he'd sent out another team to inspect, and they came back with basically saying everything had passed. But when he talked to the bigwig said everything passed. When he talked to his guys he sent out there, they were like, no, they only gave us like 2 hours to do a full inspection of this whole plane, and they made us leave. So like everything was getting rushed, stuff, the quality control wasn't there. So with things like the 737 MAX malfunctions, and then as well as just a lot of the other failures they were having, which some of the fail rate on some of these inspections was surprising. I wonder how it compares to other. I don't know what you need to get. Like maybe you only need to get a D rating.
I would imagine, bro. Imagine you just there's no way in the commercial industry of flying that every single plane you get on to fly on, and every plane at the airport is at the A grade perfect. Like everything's great, all the bells and whistles. Like there's no, this is not real. Like everything's probably at like, does it get a C? Okay, it can fly.
But here's what some FAA auditors found with some of the Boeing products. This was Boeing failed 33 out of 89 product audits. So that's a lot.
Can't pass. You can't spell college degree without a C and a D, man.
And then, so that was.
I'm gonna do the math on that real quick.
I know. So it was 33 out of 89, and then, in another,
they failed 33.
They failed 33 out of 89.
Yeah. So they got 56. So it's whatever 56 divided by 89.
Mm-hmm.
That's their grade.
Yeah, low grade.
Oof, that is a D minus.
So D minus on that one. And then Spirit Aerosystems, which makes the body of the 737 MAX, it failed 7 out of 13 product audits.
I can do that. That's an F.
That's an F minus.
F.
Yeah, that's an F minus, dude. And so, the one of its things were noted was the aircraft's door plug, which was one of the
we've been seeing that
which
lately.
was the other thing where the door flew
comes
off.
off and sucks people out.
Yeah, so that's where we were having issues. The other things they said was FAA auditors, they saw mechanics using like a hotel key card to check the jet door, like basically like the thickness of it, which being kind of blue collar trades, like that kind of seems like an okay way to check something. They're like, listen, if the card wiggles or can't fit, then it's not good. Like it seems like
it's Abe's head on your tires,
right? But it's still just doesn't seem like the most calibrated way to check something, like a tube full of metal that hurtles through the air. And then they saw one mechanic using Dawn dish soap as a lubricant during the fit up process of the door. So, which also, hey, Dawn is one hell of a product. You can use it for all sorts of stuff. So still, I'm not saying like maybe that's industry standard too for something like, hey, Ricky, squirt some Dawn on it. It's going to be good to go. Now, that being said, I don't know what you are supposed to do, but both those things, like using dish soap and a hotel key card, are going to make people sus of the way that you are conducting yourself. And so all these things going on, and Barnett was bringing a huge lawsuit to he was a key whistleblower and key witness in a huge lawsuit coming to Boeing. And
I don't think he was the one that filed it. He was just like the lawsuits. Was he the filer?
I don't know if he was at the head of it or if it was a bigger deal. Where did that article go? But I think it was bigger than him. But he was
definitely like the guy who's like, I got the notes. I was there.
He was the guy, and he's the guy who kind of started by cracking it open. And so, he was testifying with his, with the attorneys, and with the, I guess not prosecutors, but whatever, his attorneys, the lawyers. He was meeting with the lawyers, testifying, and he was doing two really big kind of sit down testimonies, and he had gotten done with one. And this whole thing's been come up to a big point where it's been years in the making. The last year's been a really big push on it. And now it's kind of coming to like the final, everything's getting their final stuff in order before all the lawsuits go down and everything starts, going through the legal system. And so he had his first testimony, and then he was slated to give his second testimony, and he was supposed to give it that morning. And so the lawyers were like,
where is this guy?
They were like, where is he? He's not answering his phone. He's not here. And so they asked the hotel he was staying in. They said, go check on him, and they found him dead with a apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound in his truck.
He wasn't at the hotel. He had just pulled off, right, somewhere?
It was his hotel.
Oh, he was at the hotel just in his truck?
Yep. I believe it was his hotel because that's how they knew where he was. And so
makes you wonder, like, why didn't the hotel hear the gunshot in the parking lot?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Man. So everybody keeps, saying alleged gunshot, alleged self-inflicted wound, and the defense showed up with him there and was trying to work out. They met with the coroner and a sheriff and stuff, and they haven't put out details on that yet. But kind of a sus thing to kill yourself the morning of giving a big testimony.
Was there an autopsy? I thought they just ruled it as suicide without an autopsy. I'll look that up.
Yeah, look, because I know that they spoke with the police and a coroner, but they didn't. I don't know if they did a full autopsy on it. I'd assume you got to. For something like this. So I guess first, I don't know.
But they waived the autopsy on Justice Scalia.
Yeah.
They could waive it here.
It's true. And so he was a quality control engineer, and he brought that in. He retired in 2017, and all this stuff started in 2019. He started bringing these things up. But so he kills himself in his truck, apparently. But here's the bigger part of the story is a family friend, came out and said, and I think there was more than one, but one specifically came out and spoke to news outlets saying that he kind of warned friends and family of this. He said, like, I'm not going to kill myself. I am not suicidal, and so he was at least nervous enough about how big this case was to, take the time to tell people that, hey, I'm okay. I'm not going to kill myself.
Yeah.
And if I'm suicided,
I feel like you only say that if you've been getting threats too.
Right. Yeah. Or if you feel like someone's capable of doing that. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's certainly a large enough issue, large enough company, large enough amount of money that something fishy could be at play here. And so that's where they're at with it now. I don't know how much further investigation they're going to get done into this or onto him, but
no official autopsy.
No official autopsy
Coroner
on
just
this.
Ruled it was suicide.
So apparently he killed himself, according to the coroner, but without doing the due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
When a couple million, a couple billion, maybe a trillion are at stake.
Yeah. No, it's easily well over $1 billion of that company, because I mean their stock's already cratered and they've already lost like something in the billions in stock value.
Mm-hmm. So pretty big deal for what happened here, and I'd say suicide not out of the realm of possibility. You know, he's there's people can take a dive pretty fast on their mental health or how they feel about something. That being said, too, the people who are closest to him just feel like that was not what was going to happen, especially the morning.
What's the motive?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Especially when you're you're literally the next day headed to give the rest of your testimony on something.
Yeah.
That's a little bit sketchy. A little bit sketchy.
Reminds me of that good old 90s movie with Denzel. I got to look it up, where they try to kill the witness and Denzel's the attorney. It's like a big case. I'll look it up real quick. Great movie.
Is it the Pelican Brief?
Yes, the Pelican Brief.
Mm-hmm.
That was excellent movie.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that on a plane.
Oh, yeah.
I was probably on a Boeing 737 watching it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I don't know how much more digging people are going to do into this. It's just going to go into the conspiracy ether, you know? Mm-hmm. But they did say the people Barnett was working with did say they're moving forward with everything they have, and it's not over. You know, they're not stopping or dropping anything, and they're gonna continue to fight this stuff, because obviously too, I mean, the things like the big 737 MAX crashes, the doors blowing off things, the Boeing's been under fire too it was Boeing who was under fire for also like the diversity hire stuff, I think, as well, you know, where they were bragging about how they've only hired
our pilots
certain people.
Our pilots aren't like trained, like they're not coming from like prior military experience, but they do know all 128 genders.
Right. Yeah, so that is, but Boeing's maybe in for it on a lot of this stuff, and that's a big plane company.
Yep. Yeah. So here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to try to, it's a dark question, but you know, dark humor, I guess. But Pat, how much money would it take, if someone approached you, you know, a company, a corporation approached you and was like, yeah, so just no connections to us, silence this guy. Like, what would it be? Like, what, you know, thinking about that, like to get offered to do that and be like, that'd have to be radically life-changing money. But also at the same time, you'd have to think,
there's people who,
I'm not safe. They're gonna get rid of me. Right.
There's that piece. But there are people out there who $50,000 is a lot of money to some people too. You know, like that is life changing. Some people, and also some people are like, I wouldn't do it for $1 million. Or some people would say, I can't be bought. I don't have a price. People do kill for a lot less money, you know, than something this big of a deal. And so it probably wasn't too hard for working off the theory that this was some sort of hired out thing. Probably not too hard to find somebody for not a lot of money to a company this size.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Just go to this hotel, $50K and some heroin.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know what I mean? It's dark, bro. It's a wacky world we live in. But this is the kind of stuff that I wish the news spent more time on. You know, this feels like journalism. Like this should be a journalist's like wet dream of like exposing this as much as possible. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
This is what people would watch the news for, more than just president stuff. You know, election stuff.
Oh yeah, big time. This is the, especially, you know, lots of journalists, you know, whether they're flawed or not in the way that they approach their reporting, usually the big motive is bringing down the big corporation or whatever, or
it's
you know,
the gate,
or you
bro,
know,
the dream of a gate.
Yeah. So like it's like the Watergate, you know, the biggest thing you could do, whatever. So like this is the Super Bowl type of story, but also the people in charge of a lot of journalists like Boeing, like their Boeing stocks.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Yeah, we'll see. we'll see what all falls out with this, and we'll try to keep our kin out there updated on it. But anyways, thanks for joining us for the Mick and Pat show. We appreciate it. As always, please do check us out. And again, just want to hammer it home. Every download on a podcast app helps us out. We're growing on YouTube, but subscriptions and likes and views there are wonderful, and we always appreciate that. We always appreciate comments and engagement. But engage with us on other platforms. Check out our website, things like that, so that way we can keep on doing this. But I think that's what we got for you all this evening. And Pat, any sign off?
Till next time. Thanks for tuning in. If you love this episode, drop us a review. If you have qualms or comments, leave us a voicemail on our website. While you're there, check out our latest news, merch, and deals from our sponsors. Till next time, Ken.